Hi, this is Kevin Purcell, and I want to show you um, the 5 favorite features in Logos 7 as it was updated in 2016. These are the 5 features. I went into the Logos forum and I asked, what are your 5 favorite features? And these are the ones that kind of were mentioned the most. There were probably 25 different features mentioned in that post, and I'll give you the link to that over on my website. Over on the website where this video will be posted at Church Tech Today in the review I'm doing for that site. But anyway, so I just kind of compiled, these are the 5 that most people mention, and I want to show them off to you to begin with here. First of all, let me just show you this. It's a sermon editor file or page. You get to that by going to the Tools menu. And then you look for sermons. Let's see, where can I find that? I'm sorry, it's under the documents. This is again, this is not something I do a lot. I don't use this, but a lot of the new users, a lot of the power users over at the Logos forums do. So you go to the documents menu up here and you click on sermon, and it'll open up one of these pages. Now I've got one started, as you can see right over here, and this is a sermon that I started in Logos Sermon Editor just to kind of give you a feel for it. I actually write my sermons in Word, but start off, you can write the title of your sermon, your name and who it's for. If you want to edit this information, just click on that. Target audience is here. If it's part of a sermon series, write the name of that. These are some key topics in my sermon, and then this is the key passage and a brief description of it. And then if you want some private notes to put, you can put those here. When you're finished, click on done. You can begin writing here. So for example, I might start with an introduction, and just in real general terms, I might give my opening illustration, and I would actually write what the illustration was, and then need element, which is for me is, how do I first grab the attention and then show why this passage is important to the people listening, and then go into my first heading, which honestly at this point I don't fully recall what my first heading was in this, but that's had something to do with God takes nobodies and turns them into somebody. I think that's what it was. And so then I could write my ideas and points down here. Notice it underlined that. What you're getting over here, it's creating some slides for you. And I want to show you one of the slides that I have already created. If you use Proclaim or PowerPoint, something like that when you preach, this is kind of moving slow. There, that's a little bit better. So this created what I did is I just clicked here, and as a result, it opened this window with just the black background and My Soul Magnifies the Lord. It gives you these, a subheader and a reference. So like you can put this up to begin with. You can find background media. So click on Find Media, and notice I picked that one. If I wanted to, I could change it. Obviously, these aren't really very Christmassy, but let's just say I changed it to that one. It takes a little while to update, and there you go. Now, if you've got different layouts that you have used here, you can click it here. If you've got more than one slide layout that you're using, you can click between these to see these. This gives you, ways to, like this text, you can change the color of it, the size of it, those kinds of things. Now, when you're finished, you can save it as, and that'll pop up a way to save a different graphic format. Or if you'd like, you can send it to Proclaim, PowerPoint, or since I'm on a Mac, it also includes Keynote. And then if you want, maybe you want to, show off to your church members on social media and say, hey, here's what I'm preaching Sunday. Click on the Facebook or email it to your church's email list or something like that. And then update sermon. When you do that, notice the slide changes here. So basically it's just, it's kind of a text editor, a sermon editor on steroids with a lot of features designed primarily for creating things for people who preach. It's got different headings. You can add a block quote, a speaker prompt. That's gives you a prompt so that if you're using Proclaim, which is their presentation software, it'll show the speaker prompt, which is different than what the congregation sees. That way, if you've got a screen in the back of your church, it'll show you these prompts, and the screens behind you or in the front of the church, they won't see those. So it really works well with Proclaim. I'll be doing a review of Proclaim here in a few weeks here at Church Tech Today. And then it creates handouts for you, and you can put questions in the handouts. You can add slides. For example, if maybe this was a quote and you want to turn that into a quotation and make a slide out of it. So then you have that, and it brings up the slide editor. So you get the idea. I'm not going to be able to go into every single detail, but you get the general idea of what is going on here. So that's the sermon editor. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. The second one that people were most excited about is the new concordance feature. Now, this I struggled with. For me, a concordance is a big book with a long list of all the words in a book. I remember one of the very first full exhaustive concordances that I ever bought was the New American Standard Exhaustive Concordance, and it was about the size of a VW van. I'm kidding, but it was huge, and I loved it because I could find everything, and that was before I started preaching on computers. Now when you have a computer, I thought, well, every Bible software is a concordance. What do I need a concordance? Just hit the search tool and search for love, right? Well, not really. What this does is you can create a concordance not only out of your Bible texts, but for example, let's say you've got, let's find, so I was preaching out of Luke. But what about all your commentaries on Luke? If you want to create a concordance out of the New American Commentary, why would you want to do that? Well, let's say you're wanting to find out all the important themes of the book of Luke as you're preaching in a series of sermons through the book of Luke. And so you'd create this, and what it's going to do is it's going to search for all the words, and it's going to show you how many times each word is used. And so maybe the biggest topics will show up. That's just one way to do it. Now, what you're searching for, you can search for words, or you can go to original language tools and find lemmas, roots, senses, just a lot of different things here. In a commentary, what if you want to know, not a commentary, but a book that you're reading, and you want to see, where do I find most of the Bible references in this book? You can find all the Bible references in, maybe one of John MacArthur's books or something like that. And then if you're searching in the Bible, you can limit your search range. For example, I chose the Gospels in the New King James Version, and I wanted to find all the roots. And so now it gives me a list of all of these roots, and it's listing them in the order of most often used to least often used. You want to know what the least often used roots in the New King James? There you go. So, prepo, befitting, all right. But it's more interesting or more helpful maybe to find the most often. Of course, ha or kai or autos, lego, saying, day, su, these are some words, amy, ego, ooh. The way I'm pronouncing these are probably making some of you cringe because I was taught to pronounce very differently than a lot of people were. Ditto me down here is used 388 times in the Gospels. So that could be helpful to know. Now you can limit your search, find just the stuff in the biblical text, find only the words of Christ, Wouldn't that be interesting? And notice how quickly it changes. Now this list, it takes a while to create this list. In fact, I started this and it took, I don't know, a good 5-10 minutes on my computer. I've got a 2013 MacBook Pro. So, it does take a little while to perform a big search like this. So that's the Concordance tool. A lot of people like this because it's kind of like a concordance with a lot more specialization. You can create your own concordance. What if when I got that big NASB, I could say, you know what, get rid of all the stuff that doesn't relate to anything but the book of Matthew. That would have made that book a lot smaller. And so it helps you do this. You can do word studies and things like that in this. The next one that I want to show off to you, the third most popular thing was the Quickstart Layouts. I'll get to that last because it's going to kind of change what I've got already open, but they show up right here. But next, let's look at the Multiview Resources. Over here in my window pane, notice I've got the New King James Version and the ESV open. And there's a new button on your toolbar in Logos 7, and it's the multiple resources. Now, what I can do is I can open up multiple resources in here, and they will be parallel. So let's say I want to make a parallel Bible out of I've got the NKJV, the ESV, I'm going to add the SB, HCSB, and the NIV. All right. There's the NIV and HCSB. All right. There we go. And so now it's showing these in multiple view. Now you say, well, big deal. Parallel Bibles, every Bible software does that, right? Yeah, they do. So you scroll in your primary text. So for me, it's the NKJV that I have open here. That's my primary text. But what if, as I'm going through here, I say, you know what, I want to find out what Luke said at the beginning of the passage. So over here, I can have another, this is the ESV, and I can read the beginning without this changing or these two columns changing. And then I just go back here and move it a little bit, and it'll pop back to where I was. So here I was at Luke 139, studying for my sermon on the Magnificat, the psalm that Mary sang after meeting Elizabeth, and John the Baptist leaps in her womb weeps in the womb of Elizabeth, and Elizabeth blesses Mary. So then Mary replies, "My soul magnifies the Lord," and in Latin, Magnificat is the word, and that's where they get the name for that. So I can do this. I can have all of these show up, and I can read it through in a parallel. You don't have to do just books of the Bible. Let's say I'm going to uncheck these two, and I'm going to find the NAC. So if I want, I can then have the NAC commentary here. Again, here it's going, following the text. When I scroll here I can read other passages, and I can do the same over here. And so sometimes I find it frustrating when you're trying to read a commentary and you switch. No, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to see the verse before or after it, and it switches the context. More in-depth commentaries will have a lot longer entry on a single verse, and so you mess up your reading over here. So that's a neat feature, and I actually really like that and have been using it quite often. Before we get to the third most, the layouts, let me finally get to this one, the New Testament use of the Old Testament. This is a nice data set, is what they call them in Logos. Basically, it's a book, but it is a special kind of book. And you get to it by going to Tools, under Interactive Media, New Testament Use of the Old Testament. And you open that up, and it's going to follow my NKJV that I have out here. And what it's going to do is, let's say, I'm studying in the book of Matthew, and so I've got the New Testament resource as the driving force. I'll click on that, and I'm in Matthew chapter 1. All right, so I've got that over here. And what happens is Matthew chapter 1 is the genealogy of Christ. And so it shows me that the genealogy in Matthew 1:1, a good portion of that will come from Genesis 5:1. All right, so it'll show me that over here. Now along the side here, I can click on any of these. Let's find out about God. And it's going to bring up Matthew 5:21. You've heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder. Well, we get that as a direct quotation from Deuteronomy 5:17. And that gives you an idea of what's going on there. Now let's go to this Quickstart Layouts. Click on the Layouts button up here in the top right. And it used to be that all you had were these saved layouts that you created on your own. For example, let's say I want to read from my favorite commentaries. That is going to... It closed everything and opened up the New King James, HCSB, ESV, NIV, NASB, and the Lexham English Bible. My Bible notes are over here. I have 2 more copies of the Bible open. These do not follow. Notice the A and the B. So I created this, and then some of my favorite commentaries I have open over here. I created this layout. It's kind of my favorite tools that I use. But what if you're a brand new user and you don't have any layouts? And so what they do is they've created a bunch for you. So let's say I want to do a study Bible. Just use the Faith Life Study Bible. So it uses my favorite book, or my favorite copy of God's Word, the New King James. Opens up the highlighting pane. It has the Faith Life Study Bible open over here. And then it has Study Bible Notes down here. And that's just the notes tool from the Faith Life Study Bible. And that shows me that one. Now I can quickly change. Let's say I just want to do my lectionary reading. And so it opens up my top lectionary, the Christian Worship 1-year lectionary, since I'm Protestant and not Lutheran. And then my top Bible over here. Now what if I wanted to, quickly add the ESV? Hello. There we go. I didn't have that checked. Okay, that's acting funny. Why is it not showing up? There we go. So I can just do my lectionary reading from here. Let's start with Isaiah 42. When we're done, we'll go to John 3. But you get the idea of these layouts. Bible journaling. Again, you get your highlights, you get your New King James, and a new note file called Bible Journaling. So the Quick Start layouts are great for new users, and really advanced users have said that they really enjoy using these as well. A couple other new features, the Psalms and Proverbs Explorer. You can find those data sets here, Proverbs Explorer and Psalms Explorer. I think these might only be available if you're a Logos Now user. I'm not 100% sure if it's in the general. Logos Now is a subscription tool where you get access to new features before the point release. For example, before the major release. So Logos 7 came out this fall, Logos 6 last fall. But in between those two releases, they release some data sets and new features. And Logos Now gives you instant access to those. It's kind of like paying to beta test. That's the way some people call it, but it's a little bit more than that. But anyway, the Psalm Explorer, that's kind of a neat data set too. I won't go into too much detail. But those are the top 5. The Sermon Editor, which you find on Documents. Okay. The Concordance feature, which is under Tools. And let's see here, Concordance. The Quickstart Layouts, which you find over here under Layouts. The Multiview Resource, which you find when you click on that button. And then, of course, the New Testament use of the Old Testament. There's a lot of other new features. You can find them. Again, you'll see the link to my Church Tech Today article about this review. And in that article, you'll find a link to the Logos forums that lists all the new features in Logos 7. But this has been Kevin Purcell with these top 5 new features in Logos 7.